Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. John Lennon. Planning for the future. When most people are young adults, they put a lot of their effort into preparing for their future. The problem is that the future never really comes. After middle age, they may or may not have money, but they no longer have youth and the illusion of a dream future. People start to realize that their dreams are not going to come true, at least not like they dreamed them. Or people did what they set out to do, and it was not what they thought and hoped it would be. It did not satisfy them for very long. They start reminiscing about the good old days that really were not that good. People go from fantasizing about the future to fantasizing about the past. They miss the present altogether. People live their whole life without really living at all. Their friends start to die, and their health starts to go. They start to see that they are heading for sickness, old age, and death. It starts to dawn on them that their life has passed them by, and they are heading for the abyss without a clue. Then they tell their kids to do the same thing they were taught, because they do not know what else to tell them. So it goes, passed down from one generation to the next, the sins of the father passed down, the blind leading the blind, as the Bible says. It is tragic and no longer necessary. Jesus said, if a blind man leads a blind man, they will both fall into a pit. Prime of life. We may live an average of about 75 years, but our prime of life is considerably shorter. For most men, it is about 10 years. For most women, it is only about 5 years, because youth and physical beauty matter so much. All this effort is to prepare for a future that is sandwiched between youth and old age. Those few years are not that great, even for the people that are lucky enough to succeed in their plans. Even the 1 in a million that realizes their childhood dreams is disappointed. What is the point? Even for those few for whom the big dream comes true, those who become famous in sports or show business, it only lasts a few years for most of them. A spiritual being is in the prime of life all the time. Time does not exist. It is a mind-created illusion. All there is the present all the time. When you wake up to the truth, time stops from your perspective. You just live life. I am not saying that people should not prepare for the future. You have to do something with your life, and getting an education that will help others and help yourself is the thing to do. Working to help others and yourself is also the right way to spend your time, present. You can do those things and take care of yourself spiritually at the same time. Success and money will come and go, no matter what you do, but life is always with you, so it is all that really matters. Jesus said, you should seek God first, and all these things will be added to you. Do not be anxious about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. In other words, if you take complete care of the present, you are taking care of the long term at the same time. It is the perfect way to live, the only way to live. The next best thing to finding God, life is looking for God, life. 1. If you take care of the present, live in the present, the future will take care of itself, as the saying goes. Always give the present priority over the future or the past, and you will be on the right path. The path to heaven. Living in the present does not mean that you do not know the past and the future. You have to know the true past and true future in order to know the truth and live in the present. Live every moment, like it is your last dance on earth. Carlos Castaneda. Even though people are always thinking about the past and the future, they do not see it truly. The mind is preventing people from seeing the present, and it is also preventing people from seeing the true past and future. The mind is the problem. Drop your mind, and the past and the future cease to exist. No one really looks past 50 years. What happens then? Many people do not think past the next 50 or 60 years, or past death, because they think it is a long way off, or that there is no hope. They think dead means dead, or they believe in a myth. They could not be more wrong. People say to take the long view but actually never really do. They think 50 years is the long view. It isn't. When you know you're going to die and life is short, shouldn't you prepare for it? Doesn't having a long-term plan make sense? Someone once said, people live in quiet desperation. The truth is, they live in ignorance. People are so busy playing mind games that they never see or even imagine that there is really another way, a way to a place that is better than any dream you ever had. Ignorance is not bliss. It is the cause of all misery. We have to know the truth in order to walk the path to heaven. The truth is the path. You have to be able to see the path, all of it, before you can go where you really want to go. Almost everyone is lost. Most people just do not know it, which makes them even more lost. The definition of being lost is not knowing where you are and or where you are going. That makes just about everyone lost. Only the truth and the life can show you the way, because it is the way, the only way to true life, here, now and heaven after you die. You can find it in the present. The saddest thing is someone dying without ever living. Lie and die. People live their lives living a lie, and then they die in a lie. I was watching a talk show about people that know they are going to die soon and how they are dealing with it. Everyone on the show was acting like they had come to terms with it. They said they have come to an understanding with their death and are now okay with it. They are facing death with courage, understanding and a positive attitude. They are not telling the truth. You cannot bring anyone on a talk show to talk about death if they are going to be honest about it, because it will not be good entertainment. A talk show's purpose is to make people feel better, not necessarily to tell the truth. 2. It is interesting that lie and die are so close to the same thing. The people on the show are doing the best they can do, because no one knows the truth, but it is not honest. No one is okay with their impending death. The truth is, it is life's ultimate nightmare, even if you know the truth and the life. Your death is your ultimate nightmare, period. That is the truth. It is the worst thing that happens in life, no matter how you look at it. Life contains some bad things, and death is the worst of them all. It is the way it is. People get scared when they watch a scary movie of someone getting killed or dying. Try to imagine how scared you will be when it is really happening to you. Anyone that says they are okay with death is lying. No one can be okay with it, but that does not make people feel good, so no one can be honest about it. The problem is that it tells people it is okay to be dishonest, even when you are about to die, which it is not. Just before you die is the time to be the most honest. Otherwise, you send the wrong message to the people you care about. The reason it is the saddest thing to see someone dying without learning the truth is because it is now unnecessary. The truth can be known, and people know it subconsciously. It is right there, but they just cannot connect with it. If you do not know the truth, the worst thing to do is deceive yourself and others, because it removes any chance of you learning the truth. Even when you know the truth, there is not much to feel good about. You can feel good that you are one of the first people on earth to die knowing the truth, and you can look forward to being reborn in a better place, but that is about it. If you are in great pain and have a hopeless, degenerative, terminal disease, you may welcome death, but that only means that your disease is worse than death. It does not make death okay. Death still sucks on many levels. Death sucks. Your death forces you to have to leave everything you have ever known. You are leaving everyone you love, and that is never okay. Even if you think it is good, it makes your loved ones sad when you die, and there is nothing okay about that. No matter how you look at it, it is bad. Therefore, anyone that says they are okay with it has not really thought about it, is stupid, or is lying to themselves and everyone else. Death sucks, and that is the bottom line. 3. If you learn the truth and the life, you can die knowing you did the best that was possible for a human being. Having learned the truth and the life, you will be reborn in a new world where death will never be as bad as it is in this realm. It is a lot better than dying in ignorance or a living lie. You will know that death is necessary and what is going to happen next, be reborn. But death will always be tragic in many ways, and it is never okay. This section is about physical death, the loss of your current body. Spiritual people die and are reborn every second in the body they are in. Think about it. You are not the same person you were when you were 10. That person no longer exists. You have died to the person you were last year and yesterday and even who you were 1 minute ago. A spiritual person dies and is reborn every second in the present, but we are talking about physical death now. Physical life is short. If people realized just how fast their physical life is going to pass, they would be much more concerned with learning the ultimate truth while they have the chance. The truth is, we are all slowly dying. Just ask any old person if life is short or long, ask if their life went by too fast. In the modern world, we do not see real death, just movie and TV death which is not real. This distorts our perception of the reality of death, the certainty of it. People really die. Where is John Wayne right now? Death must be real if even he is really dead. In the next few years, we are going to start seeing many stars of movies and TV start dying, and it will begin to make us realize death is real. People are afraid of dying for a good reason. It is by far the worst thing that happens to you. It is even worse than it looks or you think it is. We become adults when we really realize that we are going to die in a short period of time. It is the worst thing that happens, and the most certain thing to happen. That is the naked truth. This makes life and death the most important subject there is. We are immature until we can face what we are really up against. Ignoring it or just taking someone's word for what happens when you die is the biggest mistake you can make. You have to do your homework on this subject. It is a requirement to pass the course and graduate to heaven. People are always surprised when things get bad. They get injured really bad or get a crippling disease, like it is their fault or something that should not happen. People are always saying so and so did not deserve that. Deserve has nothing to do with it, and it just shows how far people are from the truth. It is just the balance. We all live in a house on fire, no fire department to call, no way out, just the upstairs window to look out of while the fire burns the house down with us trapped, locked in it. Tennessee Williams. Titanic. We are all on our own personal Titanic and heading for something that will kill us in some horrible way soon. Lifeboat. The only lifeboat is the truth and the life. If you do not want to go down with the ship, you need to start getting into the lifeboat soon. 4. People think that they would not have wanted to be one of those poor people on the Titanic or someone in some other disaster, when the truth is, they are heading for a disaster themselves. Everyone is, but almost no one realizes it. People hear about someone being murdered by some psycho on the news and think that it will never happen to me. The person that was murdered thought exactly the same way. They could not have been more surprised. As the saying goes, never wonder for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. We are all in a life cycle that averages about 75 years. This means we will be killed in one way or another. Life is filled with ups and downs, and at the end of your life cycle, you lose everything. Everyone does. The worst thing that can happen is guaranteed to happen. As Becker said, life is one disappointment after another, with the biggest one at the end of it. Just because the average lifespan is about 75 years, it does not mean that is how long you live. The truth is that almost no one dies at that age. Most people die younger or older, some a lot younger. False sense of security. The average lifespan gives people a false sense of security. The truth is, you can die 5 minutes from now. This is an important understanding, because if you put off learning the truth, you may not get the chance. You have to get on board the lifeboat while you can. While we are postponing, life speeds by. Seneca. Pearly gates. You cannot just think you know the truth. You have to know the truth. It is what you know that gets you to heaven. It is what you know that transforms you and your life. Knowing the truth is the key to the metaphorical pearly gates, the key Jesus metaphorically gave to St. Peter and to us through his words. We become the exact opposite of the way people are now. See Acts of Peter, XXXVLLL. Everyone ends up doing the thing they have been trying to avoid at all costs. You lose absolutely everything you knew, everything that you thought was important, a few seconds before it happens. Nothing can be worse, and it is going to happen to you, maybe very soon. That is the bad news. The good news is that you can be ready for it. End of the world. People are always talking and worrying about the world ending. We are destroying the environment, going to use weapons of mass destruction. There are plagues and pandemics, asteroids from space, religious prophecy, etc. We are so busy worrying about the world that we are missing the fact that the world is going to end soon for us, no matter what happens. 5. The world ends all the time. It ends every time someone dies. The world ends when your life in it ends. The world ended for everyone that lived in the 19th century. The world is going to end for the whole World War LL generation in the next 10 years. Even the people that survived the war are going to die. No one really wins unless they learn the truth. Everyone alive today, the whole human race, will be dead within the next 130 years, no matter what we do. For most people, it will come a lot sooner. Jesus said, "The end is near." He was right, the end is near. People think this saying was wrong because the world did not end near the time he said it, but they are wrong, because the world did end for everyone he said it to within 50 years. Your life will go by fast, no matter how long you live. You will be at death's door before you know it. The truth is, the world could end for you in the next few minutes. It is not something that just happens to someone else. It will not happen in your future, it will happen in your present, just like everything else. The living dead, this is one major reason people avoid the present. They know death is only in the present. They think if they avoid the present, real life, they can avoid death. The problem is, life is also only in the present, so if you avoid the present, you avoid true life, thus you are a living dead person. Death happens anyway. So what is the point of missing true life? The mind has a hard time seeing the truth when it comes to the subject of death, because it does not know life, so it cannot know death. It deals with it by not dealing with it or by hiding in a myth. The elephant in the room. Everyone is trying to ignore the elephant in the room, making believe that it is not there. People are in complete denial. As a result, you get the biggest surprise of your life at the end of it. There is no defense against death. People that collect guns and put in cameras and alarm systems are just deceiving themselves. The worst possible thing is going to happen relatively soon in one way or another, no matter what you do. When it does happen, most people will not be ready for it. That does not have to be the way it is. You can take anything in stride if you know the ultimate truth, and if all your loved ones know the truth, they can too. When the worst possible thing happens to a spiritual being, they do not lose themselves, they find themselves even more, get closer to God, life, and get more into the present. A spiritual being was expecting it and prepared for it in advance. A spiritual person knows the worse it gets, the better it will be, and everything is perfect at all times, so they make the transition consciously into their next life. You are just going over the big drop on the roller coaster of life, and it is just starting to get real interesting. You do not just hope that you are going to a better place, you know it. Good, bad, painful, it is all just the present to you. 6. Die like a man. This does not mean a spiritual person will not scream, cry out, suffer and go through anguish like anyone else that is dying. Jesus did. A spiritual person is still a physical being. This needs to be pointed out, because people think that someone who knows the truth and understands what happens after death will go out smiling or something, and are disappointed when they do not. People think that a spiritual person or someone that knows the ultimate truth should die better or different in some way. This caused many people that witnessed the death of Jesus to think he was nothing special, when he was. It is one of the reasons the Romans tortured Jesus as much as they did. They wanted to show people that he was nothing special. It worked, because people did not understand that how a person dies does not tell you anything. You do not know a spiritual being by how they die, you know them by how they live. A spiritual person is more aware, and thus feels physical pain more than other people, but they will not hide what they feel, good or bad. You are born in anguish, and you die in anguish. Spiritual people will not look or act any differently than anyone else that dies. What is different is going on the inside, and is only known to the person dying. A spiritual person will not try and act any different when dying to impress or prove anything to the living. Men feel they have to hide their pain and die like a man. Spiritual people are not men, they are more than men, and do not hide anything for any reason. Jesus cried out in pain on the cross, because crucifixion hurts. The truth is, a spiritual being does not live or die in a false or phony way. Death is the worst thing that happens to a life form, and a spiritual being is an exact reflection of it. If anything, a spiritual being makes death look worse. Funerals are designed to distract people from the reality of what has really happened. They are intended to put a good spin on death and get people past it without them really understanding what happened. The objective is to avoid facing the truth. The truth is, your friend or loved one just turned into worm food. The ultimate surprise, people are always surprised when someone close to them dies. Imagine how surprising your own death is going to be. Nothing you had ever experienced prepares you for the overwhelming power of it, the fear of it, usually the pain of it and the helplessness of it. It is nothing like going to sleep as most people are expecting. It is the ultimate wake-up call. It will be the first thing in your life that will be truly different, really beyond your imagination.